if we could just take this Christ the King feast and go forward with it, it would be easy. It would be a great pleasure to praise Jesus Christ, King of the universe. But you know as well as I do, if we are in this year, in this century, in this decade, that we can't do that easily. We can't do it easily because of the name King. And I know we have kings throughout the world, King of England, other kings throughout the world. But we also know it's a political term. And lately, that term has been applied to certain political leaders and the mobs, just like the mobs were around Jesus as he hung on the cross. The mobs are saying, we have no king. We won't have any king. And as United States citizens, 100%, we agree with that. We have no king. But what that represents in today's politics is something devastating. It represents something horrible. It represents the anxiety of our period. And I'm speaking about us, especially us who are American citizens. It's an anxiety-provoking terminology that we as Catholics have to pronounce today, because today is the feast of Christ, the King of the universe. But then it gets filtered down and the mobs misinterpret it as they apply it to a particular man, a particular president. That's not our concern. Our concern is what the title means to us as Catholics, honoring Jesus Christ. This feast was inaugurated, and I pulled up the latest Catholic Worker. It was inaugurated by Pope, here we are, hold on, hang one second, Pius XI in 1925, amidst the war, World War I. In 1925, Europe was reeling through the emphasis and the devastation of World War I. The world, and this sounds so current, the world was disillusioned and depressed, psychologically, financially, and it was dizzy with fear. We don't have to talk about the politics of that period, the nations that were involved. We were. But through all this, our Holy Father determined that we need to refocus. Get your eyes on the right person, Jesus Christ. Who cares what your well, we do care what our politics are. But when our politics tear us apart as people and we create new gods through our politics, we're condemning ourselves and we're condemning the world. For instance, many people converted to socialism during that period and communism. It became very popular in Marxist regimes such as Mexico and Russia and different parts of Europe. And through that rise of communism and rise of socialism in the 1920s, priests were killed, churches were restricted, anti-Catholic sentiment was growing, and it was fueled by so many artificial alliances. People's faith was shattered, and Pope Pius issued this encyclical with these words. I want to quote this little section. Jesus, he must reign in our minds, which should assent with perfect submission and firm belief to reveal truths and to the doctrines of Christ. He must reign in our wills, which should obey the laws and precepts of God. He must reign in our hearts, which should spurn natural desires and love God above all things and cleave to him alone. He must reign in our bodies and in our members, which should serve the instruments of interior sanctification of our souls. And to use the words of the Apostle Paul, as instruments of justice unto God. 1925, 1940, gone? No. We look at politics locally, and I have to say I'm not on thin ice. I'm saying what I want to say, and I'm saying what I believe is accurate. But for many people, Catholics, who hear me right now, they'll be upset. Oh, you're talking about politics in church. It's like leave politics at the door and come to church. Well, you could do that at Thanksgiving Day. Leave the politics at the door and come to your family table and not talk about the politics. But we're living the politics. And to celebrate the feast of Christ, King of the universe, when as a matter of days ago in Times Square, a huge assembly of Muslims gathered. And the declaration was, Allah is King of the universe. That was said a few blocks from here. And hundreds of people gave assent to that. We're Catholics. There is only one God, and there is only one King, and that's Jesus Christ. We've always been at odds with other religions. And now, once again, the odds turn to violence. Can you think of anything worse than what's going on in Nigeria? Churches being burnt down. On the Feast of Christ the King, they're gone. Those churches are gone. Schools raided, and young children, mostly female, abducted. More than one church has been desecrated and destroyed in Nigeria. And if we keep it to Nigeria, it's too bad. It's they're a little bit behind. No. Churches are being destroyed here in our own country. The dignity of Catholicism is being challenged in our own country. And it's easy to say it's done by the growth, the insidious growth of Islam. That's easy. It's being fueled by those who follow a socialist ideology, a socialist format where I want what you want, but I don't want to work for it, is the motto. Promises are made to our society in socialism, and nothing is delivered. However, promises are made in Jesus Christ, by Jesus Christ, and his promises are delivered. He gives us peace of mind. He gives us challenge to grow. He tells us to feed the hungry, house the poor, be sensitive to the immigrant. And the conflict comes in. Yes, some of those, quote, immigrants in our own country and our own state, our own city, might be thieves and crooked and criminals. Might be. That's up to the justice system to divvy that out and understand that. And through all of that chaos, you realize the need for Christ, the King of the universe, to be with us, because only he will bring the proper attitude and the peace of mind that we need in dealing with the justice system. Only he will give us what we really need politically, socially, and spiritually as a family of faith. This celebration falls almost mirroring the period of Pius XI. And of course, by comparison, it's nowhere near that period. But if we keep up in our world, we keep up what's going on, the hate, the anger, and the rise of Islam, we will be there. We will be there. Islam was not a problem, World War I. It's a new, I hate to say a religion is a problem, but for us it is. Because the Islamists, not people who follow the Quran alone, but Islamists, those who take it to the extreme, are a problem for us. They're a problem for our faith. They're a problem for the dignity of our youth. And they so often are changing the minds of a willing section of our citizenship, changing the minds of people away from Christ and toward a particular denomination or a particular destruction of a people. You know, don't forget, Jesus Christ, King of the universe, was born as a Jew. And one of the biggest communities that are being tortured and dealt with inappropriately today are the Jews. The rise of anti-Semitism is unbelievable throughout the world. The rise of anti-Catholic sentiment arising all over the world. And we're celebrating the feast of Jesus Christ, King of the universe. It's sad. We're celebrating with a heavy heart. So all of us today, let's reorganize ourselves. Next week is the first Sunday of Advent, celebrating the human birth of the Prince of Peace, human birth of the Messiah. Let's do what we can, non-violently, to bring about peace, to know our Christian faith, to go to church. They're not just pretty buildings on our streets. They're your and my home. I'm home today, celebrating from my home. But our home, our common home, is our local parish. And we as people who were baptized as priests, prophets, and kings into Christ have the obligation, I think, to keep those homes alive, open, and as shelters for those who need it. It's with heavy heart that we celebrate this feast of Christ the King. It should be done with trumpets and fanfare and the angels singing. But as you know, as I know, the outside world is preparing for Christmas. We know that. The trees are being lit. We know that. The Christmas carols are being sung. We know that. But underlying all of this is the heaviness and the sadness of hate, prejudice, and anti-Catholicism. We can do it through our leaders, our political leaders, but don't blame them. Don't point the finger to them. Point to ourselves. What can I do as a living member of the body of Christ and member of his universe?